Whew. All right, let's get to it. Am I good? Okay. What's up, y'all? Hope y'all doing good. I'm Anthony K. Thomas, and whether you're watching this on my Wrestling with Rumors channel or on my AKT Publishing channel, welcome to a little bit of story time. The reason why this particular video will be on both channels is because I'm going to be reading the thing that I'm going to be telling a story from in this book. No reading. If you want to read this book for yourself, go ahead. It is a story about my life in a nutshell. The most honest, the most open I am in my life, in the people I talk about my father and his death. I talk about my mother. I talk about love. So many things I talk about in this book. Some of the names in this story have been changed out of respect. But it is a story about my life, and the reason why you will be watching this video is on both Wrestling with Rumors channel and on AKT and on my AKT Publishing channel is because it's on my Wrestling with Rumors channel because I am going to be talking about the one thing in my life, the one constant thing in my life is wrestling, pro wrestling. I'm going to tell a little story about it. Now, here on my Wrestling with Rumors channel, I have told the story of when I became a pro wrestling fan, 1987, but I didn't go any further than that. So this really continues from that little thing that I talked about here on my Wrestling with Rumors channel. But for those who are watching this on my AKT Publishing channel, it's a little new for you. So, and we're also continuing on making these videos as I tell stories from my life in a nutshell. So for those on my AKT Publishing channel, here's another one. And let's get into it. Story time. So chapter 5 in this book, Let's Talk Wrestling. It all started 1987. I was at my friend's house, middle of spring, and we're coming inside. It was getting hot on that particular day. We're going inside, and we're about to play some Atari, and he hadn't gotten a Nintendo yet. So Atari was what he had. So we're going inside, we're going to play some Atari, and as we're going inside, his father is on the couch holding a beer. I think it was a Budweiser. It was 1987, so it probably was a Budweiser for 1987. And I see this guy on this top rope, which is what I learned it being called the top rope later on, but he's on the top rope and he's about to drop this elbow, and he dives in the air, lands on this guy with an elbow, and eventually wins that match. And that was Macho Man Randy Savage diving from the top rope, dropping the elbow on Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. The Intercontinental Championship was on the line, and this was WrestleMania 3. And that was my introduction into pro wrestling. I sat on the carpet, did not care for Atari, did not care for video games. I cared what was on the TV screen, and I was hypnotized by it. And I fell in love. I got all the way to the end, Hulk Hogan body slamming this monstrosity of a monster of the eighth wonder in the world, Andre the Giant, to retain his WWE Championship. Hulk Hogan did. And I fell in love. My mom comes and picks me up, and I get so excited because I'm telling her, like, Mom. I'm telling her everything that I just did. I tell her about watching WrestleMania 3 and how I loved it and I want to see more of this. And my mom was really cool and very supportive in this thing that I loved. And she helped me find it. She helped me find prime time. When Saturday night's main event was going to be on. She helped me find when WWF at the time was going to be on. And that was it. From 1987, that day, and forward, I loved it. I remember watching the first episode of Raw and just how cool this is, that every Monday night, this is going to be on my TV, Monday Night Raw. I remember the Attitude Era and how amazing it was being in the thick of that. one particular moment that I really remember that really stuck with me. There were so many moments that really stuck with me, but one is it's the Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania, and it's going to be Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. And Stone Cold Steve Austin drives in to the arena, goes through the ramp, almost like the Titantron, that big screen is like kind of flipping up a little bit. You're like worried, is this thing gonna fall? And he drives this beer truck in, and well, you got Vince McMahon, you got Shane McMahon, and you got The Rock all in the ring, and they're all shocked that Stone Cold is coming in. You got Stone Cold talking his stuff, and he's like, "You better get serious, son," because he's gonna check himself. Because Stone Cold was like, This is one part where Stone Cold's like, "I'm going to check myself directly into the SmackDown hotel, go right up to room 316 and burn that son of a bitch to the ground." I know it's not word for word of how he said it, but my God. Then he goes on and takes his hose out and sprays The Rock, Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon in beer. I tell you, it was a Wild West during the Attitude Era. The Godfather, trade. I know it's not a sound cool these days, but The Godfather. You had DX, you had the New Age Outlaws. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, D-Generation X proudly brings to you its WWF Tag Team Champions of the World, the Road Dogg Jesse James, the Badass Billy Gunn, the New Age Outlaws. And then Mr. Ass Billy Gunn would say, and if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you: suck it. All that stuff. It's still in me, but I'm bringing this up in Let's Talk Wrestling because everything that I've gone through in my life, when you look at the good stuff is good, right? But when the bad stuff happened, wrestling was the constant in my life that was always there, that allowed me to forget whatever it was that was going through and just be in that. Just watch what's on Raw, and then later on in 1999, SmackDown, and then being able to watch Raw and SmackDown, and then the pay-per-views, which eventually became PLEs. Whenever something bad was happening, it was always there. It was the constant in my life that helped me get through anything and everything in my life. When my father died, two moments that I want to talk about really quick. On February 14th, Valentine's Day 2005 was a Monday. Catching my ex-fiance cheated on me. I remember leaving. I remember how I felt. I didn't care anymore as far as living. Like it broke me so bad that I drove for God knows how long, and I found myself at this cliff, and I'm about to jump, and I don't. There's this voice in my head that I will get into who that voice was, and it was her, and she was a friend of mine that I met when I was working in retail at this market called Glen Ellen Market. And I'll get into her another time for all of you who are watching this on my AKT publishing channel. But anyway, so after that, I go home, and at that time when I was with my ex-fiance, she was not a fan of me being a pro wrestler. She wasn't a fan of me being a writer either. She tried to stop me from being a writer. She would tell me a couple times how it's a waste of my time. That'll never get me anywhere. So hearing that, it did kind of stop me for a little bit, and I felt lost in that point. And it was the same thing with pro wrestling. She tried to get me to stop. She tried to get me to stop watching wrestling because she wasn't a fan of it, and she didn't want me to watch it. But my parents would record it for me. We had still with the VCR and a blank tape. They would record They would record Raw. They would record SmackDown, and they would record the pay-per-views that would happen, when they would come on. And I would go over every Tuesday and every Saturday, and I would visit with my parents for a little bit, and then take 2 hours and watch Raw or SmackDown, or take 2.5 to 3 hours and watch the pay-per-view on a Monday. And that's how I continue to watch wrestling. So they were still doing that after my ex cheated on me. So after I drive back to my parents' house, and I open the door. And I'm going to talk about this again, but more on what my father was for me in that moment. My father tells me to come in, tells me it's going to be okay. And I go into an empty room that they have. And this empty room had a bathroom in it. Great room. And it had the TV and the VCR in there. And grabbed the chair from the kitchen. And I just sat there and I watched Monday Night Raw. And in doing that, as low as I was feeling in that moment, I was able to forget for 2 hours while watching Monday Night Raw. And it felt good. And I remembered what happiness felt like in that moment. And then there was another time on January 8th, which was a Tuesday in 2019. Now, in 2019, SmackDown was on Tuesday nights, live Tuesday nights. And even before that, SmackDown was always a taped show. In the beginning, before it became a live show, SmackDown was a tape show that they would tape on Tuesdays. And then they would air it, and then SmackDown would originally air on Thursday nights on a network called UPN. Way back in the day, 1999. And it was on a network called UPN. And that's where SmackDown was, and it was taped on Tuesdays, and then they would air it on Thursdays. So they still kept, so when SmackDown went live for the first time, well, it wasn't like it was the first time every week going live. There were occasions where SmackDown would be live on Tuesdays, but it would be special occasions. This was the first time that SmackDown, at that time, this was the first time SmackDown was going to be live every Tuesday night. So when it aired live on Tuesday on USA Network at that time, everything WWE as far as television programming was USA Network. Monday Night Raw and SmackDown were both on USA Network at that time. So January 8th, Tuesday, SmackDown is on, and I remember that whole day just being outside of my body. My father had just died, and I still went to work because I didn't really know what to do with myself. I know I should have stayed home that day, but I didn't. I went to work. I really felt like, even with my father's death, I really needed a distraction. I really needed to be somewhere else. I couldn't deal with it. And I took that day to be at work. And my boss was really cool, and I asked her if I could take some time off after that day. And she said, yeah, take the time off. So I did. But later that night when I got home, and I wasn't even at work for that long. I was at work for like a couple hours. You know, I was there until about 3:30. I was there until about 3:34. At least until the kids in my classroom went home. Usually I would have stayed past to wait for most of the other kids to go home too. But I was only there. They only had me stay until about 3:34. So I go home, and after that, my mom is just, she's keeping herself busy and doing everything that she needs to do as far as getting my father's ashes cremated, because that's what he wanted. And she had people coming in, visiting her and checking in on her. They were checking on her, and that was good. My mom and I had our own way of dealing with it. We still do to this day. It's been 7 years. We still do. But that night, Tuesday night, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown came on. And for those 2 hours, from 8 to 10 p.m., I got to forget. I got to forget for those 2 hours everything that I was going through in that day. And I allowed myself to be happy for those 2 hours and watching SmackDown And it was good. It was good for me. 10 o'clock came, SmackDown went off, it all came back. And you skip ahead a couple of days later, you get to a Saturday, and at that time, 2019, NXT had a second program called NXT UK. And they were having a, I guess, PLE, pay-per-view. It was on the WWE Network. It was NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool. And those NXT UK takeovers in Blackpool or wherever in the UK were incredible. Really intimate, really, the crowd was always loud, the chanting, the UK crowd always chanting. It was a good show. Man, that really added to help me, and that was also there for me to help forget. So, in those bad moments, pro wrestling, be it mostly WWE, has always been there for me in those lowest moments to help me forget, to remind me what it feels like to be happy, and to just give me a moment of forget, and to just be in this place that I call paradise for me. It's my escape from the world when I can't really, when I really can't go anywhere to escape. I can go in my room and I can just escape into what is WWE, Raw, NXT, SmackDown, or any of the PLEs. So, yeah. And that's what it's been to me in my life. It's been that constant in my life. And I appreciate it for that. I appreciate pro wrestling for that, be it WWE, TNA, AEW, but mostly WWE for me in that case, because that's where it started for me, and that's where it will always be for me. That is my love right there. That is my constant. That is my always there for me when I need it the most. So I appreciate that. The people in my life, they come and go. They'll either be there or they won't. But pro wrestling, WWE, it's the constant that is always there in my life. And I appreciate that I have that. So anyway, I'm Anthony K. Thomas. This has been story time from my life in a nutshell. If you haven't read the book yet, and if you would like to, go ahead, click the link in my bio. That will take you to my Linktree page where you will see my life in a nutshell, as well as many other books and short stories I have available now. And if you're watching this on my AKT Publishing channel or on my Wrestling with Rumors channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you keep up when all new everything drops on either of these channels. And go ahead and leave a comment. Hit that like button. And I appreciate all of you for watching, for listening, and hope you all have a good, fun, and safe day. Take care of yourselves out there, and I will see you all on that next one. Peace, y'all.